Welcome all, welcome. System 333 on air brings you our new guest, Sabrina, a naturopathic medical student from Phoenix, Arizona, and somebody that I have actually met whilst traveling. She is our first international guest on our show, and I think actually the first lady we've had on our show. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. This is my first podcast I've ever been on, so I'm really excited.
Wonderful, and you're living in Phoenix, Arizona at the moment. So you've spent most of your life there, right, in Phoenix?
Yes, I grew up a little bit outside of Phoenix in the suburbs, and then moved a little bit closer to the city about my high school years, and stayed there. I just recently graduated from ASU, Bachelor's in Biology, which is in Tempe, pretty near Phoenix.
Arizona State University, right?
Yes. Arizona State. Mm-hmm.
And you're still in your early 20s.
Yes, 23.
Yes. So you've actually done quite a lot of studying. Do many other people your age, I guess, finish that level of studies in Phoenix or in Arizona?
It is actually quite common here. I think because we have a very, very popular university that's known for business and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So typically a lot of students will be attracted to Tempe, Arizona for Arizona State University's marketing and business degree opportunities. So definitely a lot. Traditionally, if I were to finish like most students, I would have finished with my bachelor's when I was 21. But I'm like less of a non-traditional student just because I was working a lot, just coming out of high school. Yeah, I kind of moved out on my own real quick, wanted to go travel when I met you, and took a little bit longer, but it was worth it for sure.
Yeah, so you've had a bit of a journey before actually just completely getting into your studies. I think it was kind of somewhat similar for myself. I actually did most of my studies early on. I graduated when I was about 23, actually, and then I spent time traveling throughout my mid-20s. And how do you feel like? Because you did most of your travels before your studies, or?
It was kind of in between. So I started with community college. You guys have that, right? Like university and then the smaller.
We have TAFE. College TAFE, yeah.
Okay, so it's probably similar to that. I started with that and I was getting through it, but I wasn't really focusing. I was having trouble focusing, and that's when I decided, let me take a break. Let me go out and explore the world. Like, I'm young. I had just gotten out of a pretty bad relationship, so it's like, let me just go kind of explore the world a bit. And that's when I decided to travel, and that's where I met you. And then traveled again the next year, did some working, a little bit of school here and there, and then I officially went full time.
Yeah, so you've I guess with the mix of the travel and the experiences, it kind of led you to this path. How would you say your travels up until the point of you studying and getting into the field you're in influenced what you're passionate about now?
Yeah, absolutely. It really opened my eyes to a broader perspective, and really like a broader perspective of my reality. So many new experiences, meeting new people. I used to be a very, very shy, timid person. And really putting myself out there and traveling, having to, you know how it is, navigating in countries where it's completely different language, having to force yourself out there to meet people. It just really helped me to kind of gain more confidence and a little bit more leadership. So more leadership as well, which really helps when going to medical school. And it's a very powerful position you're in when you're a doctor. So
Absolutely. And you mentioned leadership, which I think is an important key word for this discussion, because from what you've been posting recently, and I guess right now our Facebooks and social medias are being flooded with a lot of stuff during the pandemic, both on your end in America, which I can't even imagine, and also in my end in Australia, which is a completely different story too. But the beautiful thing about a lot of what you're posting, particularly is the fact that it's about self-care and self-love and being able to look after yourself in this period of time. And you know, with the field that you're in, you kind of have a level of responsibility or leadership, which is better put, to make sure others around you are looking after themselves and are being, I guess, self-aware of their own health in this period of time. I want to get into a bit more of that. So how did you come to start really reaching out to people and developing, I guess, blogs, posts, and providing some of that valuable information that you've learnt yourself?
Well, learning that information myself really kind of expanded my awareness and the way I kind of perceive my reality. And it really opened up kind of like inner talents I didn't really realize that I had. Like, I really enjoy teaching and educating people on these topics. And I didn't really ever know that was something I'd be interested in before. And so now doing that, it's just really kind of, I don't know, it just kind of like changed the way I see things, and I want to share it with the world. I want a way to express my creativity and the things that I've learned and to help other people. It's one thing to like I want to go to medical school to help people, but I can heal them. But what's even more important is teaching them so that, maybe they can teach somebody else and more lives will be affected and impacted in the end.
100%. And, education, I believe, is paramount for everybody, no matter where you are. And especially education and self-care, education and health. And one thing, I guess the way I look at System 333 is it was essentially an educational framework to get different people's ideas together as to better ways to live, better ways to be informed. And that's why I really believe what you have to contribute will benefit a lot of people. So with that being said, what type of training do you do yourself? I guess we all do. I mean, I've had a few people on our show who do different types of training. Some are bodybuilders, some are personal trainers, some do more remedial type of health. I personally, do a combination of martial arts and now primarily stick to bodybuilding. What type of sports or type of exercise did you first start off with, and what are you doing now?
So I guess I used to be a gymnast growing up, so that was something I was really originally interested in. And as I grew older, I realized I can't really be on a gymnastics team forever. So
was that because of like teamwork, or you wanted to? You felt like you were more, I guess, independent. You wanted to go on your own solo journey.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I kind of integrate now what I do physically. I like to incorporate a lot of stretching, so I really enjoy stretching and breath work. So I really enjoy yoga. Mm-hmm. I find it really, you're really able to connect with your body, like connecting the mind-body aspects. So it's very good while also stretching your body. And then typically I will also do martial arts. I really enjoy boxing. Mm-hmm. So I really feel like the energy flow, you get the cardio. I feel really refreshed mentally afterwards, getting those endorphins going in the brain. It's so, like, people don't understand how important it is, that movement, any kind of movement. Typically, physical exercise is very important to kind of get the energy in your body going, helps relieve stress. Basically, it's, like your whole entire health is impacted by it, so.
100%. And I think movement, which is mobility, really kind of slowed down during the pandemic in terms of people's living situations. And, for example, in Melbourne, well, actually, I'll start off with my own experience. So Sydney, right? So we were in about a 10-week lockdown. So I was working from home, didn't have a day off, just worked from home in front of my computer, and didn't go to the office for 10 weeks. In that period of time, also gyms were shut for 10 weeks. So I naturally couldn't go to the gym. Gym wasn't open at all for anyone. So we had to develop kind of alternative methods and ways of training in our own home or even in the park. But they even shut off the park equipment, believe it or not. You couldn't use, the pull-up bars or anything like that. And that kind of even made it more difficult if you didn't have any equipment at home. But luckily I had some equipment at home. I made use of I had like a kind of like a a roof where I could do chin-ups, pull-ups. So I was able to do a
Mm-hmm.
few of those type of exercises, but also I got a bench press as well. So I was able to do some home exercise and maintain my mobility, my movement whilst in that living situation. Now, obviously, everybody has a different idea of what they want to do for movement. What type of exercise were you doing while you're at home and unable to get out of the house?
Well, I actually got involved in this really cool program. It's kind of like a Netflix for workouts.
Mhm.
It's called Beachbody on Demand. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but there's tons of different workout programs varying in length from anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks typically. And all the programs are laid out there, created by professionals, and they all have nutrition programs incorporated and like fun PDF calendars you can print out and check mark as you go. So I did those because you can do that from anywhere as long as you have internet. And it also comes with a tracker, so I gotta kind of track it as well. So I do that, and then I'll incorporate the yoga and the stretching with it as well.
And how long was your lockdown? So you would have been doing that for some period of time. How long was the
Mm-hmm.
actual, like, I guess you couldn't go to when did the gym shut? How long were they shut for? What was it like?
So there was the initial lockdown was probably started, I think it was around, wasn't it like mid-February or end of February, maybe beginning of March, sometime then. May,
It
June.
was
And it
earlier for you than us, I know, because we ours
Mhm.
was at the end of March.
Was at the end? Okay. So probably about until, it was about mid-June, I'm pretty sure, that it was like the heavy lockdown. Everything was pretty much shut. But in Arizona, the governor did keep the gyms closed. They just opened this week.
Oh, really? So that's a long time. So how
Yes.
long? That was about 3-4 months of no gym.
Yes. Yes.
But you
There
seem
a
like you
lot of
worked around it quite easily.
I did, like, luckily I had access to that opportunity to join that program and be a part of it. I'm actually like a coach on that program, so I can run my own online accountability groups. So I think it's a lot of fun. I do it for fun and also because it just worked out so perfectly with the pandemic.
Oh, that's cool. So you
Uh,
became a coach. Like, how did that end up happening? Was that just by chance, or you're a committed member? They're like, hey, you're here every day. You're posting the
yeah,
best results.
it's basically if you're a committed member and you enjoy doing it and you want to share it with other people, like, you have the opportunity to become a coach and run your own groups. I think it's a lot of fun, and then I can help other people stay active during the pandemic as well. So that's kind of why I did it. And then also it's having accountability, other people in your group kind of just cheering you on, me cheering others on. It's good all around. I mean, it really just keeping the morality up during those times was very important.
Yeah. With what you noticed, what you observed, I guess, living in Phoenix, what was the lifestyle like there? Like when this whole lockdown happened, what were some of the implementations and changes of people? I guess, and this isn't not just so much on an exercise note, but the general living situation. How did you feel that changed?
So, people were pretty much confined to their homes. They weren't fining people. Well, they did threaten to fine people for about, I think it was like a week or two, that they were threatening to fine people. I don't know if they really did or not, but by what they were saying, a lot of fear was kind of consuming the population here. It was either like a lot of fear. Well, actually, when this first came out, people were rushing to the grocery stores. I don't know if this happened in Australia.
I
Where
did, yeah.
exactly?
They
It
ran
did?
out of toilet
Okay.
paper.
The toilet paper thing,
There were people
yeah.
fighting over toilet paper in the Woolworths, which is kind of like your Walmart.
Okay.
It was pretty unbelievable, to be honest. But go
It
on.
was insane. People were so scared. Like, I remember walking into Costco and it was a zoo. People were running around with these carts full of who knows what. It didn't even look important. I remember seeing, what's kind of funny, I remember seeing one person who had a cart full of milk. And I was thinking to myself, milk lasts like a week. What are you doing?
And
But
the other thing is like I guess it just started making people become hoarders. Like, I mean, who the fuck is gonna eat all these cans of baked beans? I don't know if you have baked beans in. I mean, no, you do have baked beans in US, but like it's very common in Australia, you know, baked beans. How many Vegemite jars and baked beans do you want in your pantry? Like, honestly.
Exactly. I don't understand it, but people do odd things when they're in states of fear. So definitely, I definitely did notice that a lot of people around in this Phoenix area were under a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
Even just walking around outside, because I like to go outside. I think nature is very healing. I think it's very important to ground yourself outside, to get sunlight, to get that natural vitamin D, rather than just supplementation. And so I'm always walking around outside, and even doing that, you know, people kind of like avoiding saying hello, not, you know, conversation is different. Or if I do get into conversation with somebody, it's a very
awkward,
heavy, kind of stressful, like,
yeah, that because I found, okay, so I don't know if this was happening in US, but it became awkward in a way when you were saying hi to people, because like we used to shake each other's hand, like, you know, and you know, in our culture, I'm Greek, so you know, we kiss each other on the cheek. We couldn't even do that anymore. You know, something that's been normal our whole life, normal gestures, couldn't be done anymore. And you know, and so whenever you say hi to someone, you don't know whether you want to shake their hand, do the fist bump.
Yeah.
They were even doing the elbows, you know, like it's Muay Thai or some shit, right? So, and going back to the office after 10 weeks, there were all these restrictions of how you even say hello to your colleagues. And I found that, yeah, it made the conversation a little more stressful, like you said, because there wasn't that friendly gesture that you were used to. So did you feel like that was kind of what was going on as well?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely more of a barrier. A lot more barriers, and yeah, just a lot of like uncomfort, or like not being comfortable, just conversation felt different. And also online, people are going crazy, you know, posting all kinds of stuff, especially here in America. The politics is just taking over everybody's realities right now.
Yeah. And I think, see, this is the beautiful thing, like where you've generated your energy and your focus, Sabrina, has been in, you know, looking after yourself and not really giving a fuck about what's going on. Of course, what's going on to a degree has some effect on our life, but ultimately when you wake up every day, you want to be doing what's best for you, what you have control of. And I think, and you know, your health is pretty much the most important part of that. So I guess when, you know, I guess a battle that a lot of people have faced during the pandemic, regardless of which country you're in, has been one, getting over the political, social situation, and then moving into just focusing on yourself. So initially when all this went down, what was kind of your approach? Like, I mean, you know, you were already kind of in the mix of completing your current studies and going to med school. So you already had a vision, a purpose. But how did the whole economic, political, social situation initially impact you?
So it was definitely overwhelming. So the first thing I did was turn off the news.
Perfect.
Like the first thing I
love that.
did was, yeah, honestly, best advice to give to anybody. Actually, I got rid of every TV that was in my house. So I haven't had a TV in a while, but I did.
You had a TV when I was there. I remember in that main lounge. Wasn't it a big TV you had?
Did I have a TV? Maybe briefly I did. But typically I don't like keeping TVs in the house. But when this whole pandemic went down, I really went strict, like no TV, not looking at the news. If only to know what's going on somewhat. But I don't want to be, you know, you don't want to be constantly absorbing that fear-based negativity into your consciousness. Because it is absorbed into your conscious and then your subconscious mind, and then now you're storing fear not only in your mind but in your body, and that's when health issues can start to arise.
And it has an effect on chemicals in your body such as cortisol and other high stress chemicals, which doesn't allow the good chemicals in your body which produces, you know, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine to flourish. So, I mean, so when was the last time you watched TV then?
So I have my iPad, and sometimes I'll go on Netflix and watch like a documentary, but I don't even really watch I don't really watch TV in general, just because I would rather be absorbing something that I consider to be a little more useful. Not saying that all TV is bad or anything, but I typically like to read, so I've read probably about 8 to 10 books since the start of the whole pandemic. So definitely doing a lot of reading, implementing a routine, really just being conscious about what I'm taking in. Because during these times, we're confined to a small space. You know, we're now, whoever you're living with, your living situation, what the people that you're around are going to be constantly with you. So it's an environment for stress response or
Absolutely.
getting irritated.
And I remember I had my friend Ben on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he said something very similar, that your living situation and the people you're around and the dynamic can really have that impact. It basically intensifies any existing relationship problems, any existing disagreements. How many people do you live with at the moment?
Just one other person. So just my best friend that just recently moved in. But to be honest with you, I was alone in the house most of the pandemic, which I'm naturally an introvert. So normally, that's kind of like what I like.
It's perfect for you.
For me.
And did you feel like you could be productive because of that too? It made you more productive than you would have been in a normal non-COVID setting, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it really did. But there were like 3 to 5 days within that time span where I would get like really I started to feel the anxiety and, kind of that fear. And especially being alone, not having anybody around, it kind of got to me a few times. But for the most part, it was good. As long as, keeping a schedule and a routine really helps with that. And then also being able to have the awareness when you are in stress is definitely the first step. Because most people don't even really understand their emotions or what they're feeling. They don't even understand they could be operating in a stress response. But once you can kind of observe that and know when your body's going into that state, you can do things to counteract it.
Absolutely, yeah. Just becoming more objective about the nature of how your body's responding is really important. I could not stress more that, and I know pun intended saying that, not stress more, but how important it is to actually be self-aware of your emotional responses to things. And this is why, like, what is they say prevention is better than cure, right? So really turning off the TV is part of the prevention mechanism to stop that from happening to begin with. Now, the good thing is as well, and I know I mentioned this right early on, so you are going to be going to med school. So during this pandemic, did you finish studying as well? Or so what was what's that journey been like?
Yeah, so I was very, very happy to be finishing up with my bachelor's degree. So the remaining of my semester transitioned from in-person classes to online classes. So that was kind of an interesting transition.
How many months did you do that for? How many months was that transition?
Just the last month. So it was a little stressful because final exams coming up and everything was up in the air. The professors weren't really sure how to do that, but actually kind of in some cases it helped my grade a little bit because the instructors were a lot nicer and more lenient because of the whole situation. So in some ways it kind of helped, but in some ways it stressed me out a little bit. So it was a give and take. It wasn't bad, but it was nice to finally finish with my bachelor's degree. The one thing I was disappointed with was that I didn't get a graduation. So
did they do
it
it online?
Disappointing.
They do it online?
They did do an online graduation, but I didn't. I don't know.
You didn't attend. You didn't attend your own graduation.
No, I wasn't impressed with the Zoom graduation that they created. So I
It's not
thought,
the same, is it? It's really not the same. Like, I mean, I remember that we had
no.
something on for work which was kind of similar, like some type of graduation thing. And yeah, it wasn't, it was kind of like, as you said it, like, yeah, it's like, all right, I graduated, but I'm just sitting here in front of my computer on a Zoom video call, watching other graduates just getting claps, like.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree. Oh, so that was like probably the biggest kind of let down, I guess I would say, would just be mainly the graduation. But the transition to online was very short term, so it wasn't too bad. I was able to adapt enough to finish my courses, and then I got interviewed for medical school on June 5th, and that was taking place over Zoom because of the pandemic, which worked out fine. Actually, kind of a funny story. I was interviewing for medical school in the Gulf of Alabama during a hurricane warning, and my internet went out, so I had to go to a nearby library, sitting outside. The wind was starting to go crazy, and I was like, oh my gosh, if I survive this interview, then I have to make it to medical school. But it worked out, so it was good.
So you ended up going to the library, getting the interview done, and
yeah, and it was all fine. And the hurricane, it didn't end up being like a severe hurricane or anything like that, just a bad tropical storm, but it was interesting.
Oh wow, pandemic and a tropical storm. Kind of like Australia went through the bushfires, then the pandemic, so
yeah,
it was pretty screwed up year for us so far. But nevertheless, I was going to say, so you're starting med school now in pretty much 1 month. We're at the end of August. It's going to be a month of September. You're starting at the beginning of October. So how long is med school going to be for you, and what type of path are you looking to take out of this study?
So medical school for me is going to be 4 years long. The first 2 are going to be primarily focused in the sciences, anatomy, physiology, all that good stuff. Just very book focused. The school does a really good job in incorporating like in-person experience as well. But for the first semester, we're doing all online. And then the next semester, we'll do some in person. But primarily the first 2 years going to be book related. And then the last 2 years will be more like in-person practice type of scenarios.
Yeah, so you've got your theory and your practical.
Yeah, pretty much. And there are different things we can focus on. I really enjoy mind-body medicine, as you can probably tell by a lot of what I post online. I'm very into like balancing mental states with emotional states with physical states. So just kind of really a lot of that has to do with teaching the population about it too, because most people just don't even have the awareness that their emotions and thoughts can impact their health. And it really can. So
what type of practical techniques, or maybe we'll stick with one practical technique that you believe has helped you and you believe other people should incorporate?
So I would absolutely highly recommend meditation.
You know what? I had a feeling you were going to say that, because a lot of other people actually agree. But what's your reasoning why? Everybody does have a different reason. How do you feel that's helped you?
Meditation I think is a very, very useful tool. There are all types of meditations you can do to target different things or to work on different things. But I guess the first step is just learning how to calm yourself, because if the moment you can kind of click into the meditation, you can physically shift the state of your body. So if you're in a stress response state and you know how to meditate enough to regulate your breathing, you can shift yourself out of that state. So meditation also gives you awareness of your thoughts and emotions and actions. We're so used to kind of living in first person. We don't really know how to observe ourselves. We don't really know how to observe our thoughts, what we're thinking about. We don't know how to observe our feelings. A lot of people can't even tell you how they feel or why they feel the way that they feel. So meditation really kind of gives us the observer kind of perspective.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that too. And, a lot of people talk about that observer perspective as being able to take a look at your life in a bit more of an objective circumstance, right? Seeing how you are in polarization to the rest of the world around you. I remember I mentioned in my book that the world serves as a soundboard for who we are and what we stand for, right? And I believe meditation allows you to actually reach that conclusion, because that way you can actually identify your strengths, your weaknesses, and I guess your purpose as well, which really comes to why you love doing what you do. Now, when you first started meditation, how long ago did you first start, and when did you start seeing those small incremental changes that has made an impact on your life?
So I probably started around a year ago. And the cool thing about meditation is it'll change your physical state immediately. So it is a tool that you can use at any time to physically bring yourself out of the past and out of the present. Because when you're in the past, it can manifest as depression. If you're in the present or too much in the future, it can manifest as anxiety. So when you go into meditation, it brings you straight into the present moment. So you're out of the past, you're out of the future, you're in the now. You can focus on what is going on right now. And you can do that by focusing on your breathing. So it has very immediate effects, such as that, but it also has long-term effects as well. The more you meditate, you gradually are able to observe the way you behave, the way you think, the way you feel. And once you have, the key is, once you have awareness, then that's when you can start to make little changes. So, if I want to relate it to Systems 333, it really gives you more of that objective. It puts you into the objective world, and then you can kind of alter or change the subjective world. I think that's what you were.
Yeah, because you can identify what is my subjective views about this thing, and this is just my point of view, not a universal point of view.
Yes, yeah. So it can kind of bring you back and widen your perspective and bring you out of those narrow subjective views and into the wider range objective view, which is very beneficial in understanding, different cultures, how other people think and feel. It can really help with your interpersonal skills with people, skills of business. Honestly, it's really like reality. It changes your entire reality, especially if you do it over a long period of time and you actively work on it. It's really great. And it also has incredible healing effects on the body as well, because the more you take yourself out of that sympathetic nervous system response, which is that fight or flight, the more you put yourself into the parasympathetic. And when you're in the parasympathetic state, your body will start to heal itself.
It's called parasympathetic. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm going to type that in just to get a definition. Parasympathetic nervous system. I can see it's coming. So So parasympathetic, for those of you who want to get the definition, it relates to the part of the autonomic nervous system which balances the action of the sympathetic nerves. And it consists of nerves arising from the brain and the lower end of the spinal cord, supplying the internal organs, blood vessels, and glands. So, So with that being said, how does meditation? How do you feel meditation works in that regards?
So, how meditation would work is, so you're usually either in if you're stressed out or experiencing anxiety, you're going to be in a sympathetic nervous system response, which means there's going to be cortisol and epinephrine hormones kind of circulating through your body. Now, what that does is it's going to increase your breathing rate, and it's going to increase your blood pressure. It's going to increase your heart rate, and it's going to shut down your digestive organs. So the absorption of the nutrients that your body is absorbing at the time is going to become lower, which isn't very good.
And your muscles won't recover then. Especially if you're doing vigorous training.
Exactly. Your muscles won't have time to recover, and your body won't be able to naturally heal itself. So the inflammation within your body will rise as well if you're in that sympathetic state. So you don't want to be in that sympathetic state for long. We only have that response to get us out of dangerous situations.
Hmm.
you know, so we're not meant to stay in that. So how meditation can help is it pulls you out of that state and puts you into the parasympathetic response, which is more of the rest and digest, the easygoing state
Calmness.
where
Calmness. A calm
calmness,
state. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, calm state. You know, your body's now able to digest regularly, absorb all the nutrients that are in your body regularly. Your breathing goes down, your thoughts kind of start to, you know, it's not racing in your mind. Your emotions are more likely to be in a higher state. So meditation can, like, you can use that as a tool to pull you into the parasympathetic state.
Yeah, and you know, I really believe this is so beneficial if you want a winner's mindset. And I know I've spoken a bit about this in the recent weeks, because at the same time, you know, you want to be able to train your mind to basically work towards more positive outcomes, and meditation really
Mm-hmm.
benefits in that regard. What was it, I guess, in your life that led you to wanting to have this winner's mindset? Because let's face it, not everybody has the same, you know, approach to life. A lot of people would rather, you know, I guess, prefer to blame the situation, blame what they can't control. But you know, with the way you've kind of developed yourself with meditation and other remedial type of work, um, how do you believe that's helped you with your winner's mindset? When did that winner's mindset first kick off?
So it first kicked off when I kind of had this, like, they call it dark night of the soul period, where you like go through a really, really rough patch.
Hmm.
And that kind of happened when I had these really bad mental programs in my head when I was thinking very negatively.
Hmm.
And I did not have the winner's mindset. I had a closed mindset. You know, I didn't believe in myself. I was struggling with my studies really, really badly. And I kind of just hit this really rock bottom type of point. And then I kind of had like an epiphany, like kind of like an awakening,
Hmm.
I would say.
Was that from an
And
event, or was that more internally, like mentally, like there was a light bulb moment?
it was definitely about like a light bulb moment. I
They're
realized
the best ones.
they're the best. No,
Because you
I know.
don't expect them, right? Like, for example,
Exactly.
if you were to go travel and you're like, I'm waiting to have this epiphany in like the middle of Russia, or whatever, the middle of South America, but it doesn't happen, you're kind of disappointed. But when you're just walking casually, maybe through the park about your day, you've had your morning coffee, or you're walking to
Mm-hmm.
work, and then you get that epiphany, the light bulb moment, those are the best ones, you know?
Those are the best, exactly. And this one was very frustrating for me because I didn't realize it was a good epiphany at first. So it was kind of it was the day I realized I wasn't going to become like an MD type of doctor. I was going to become a naturopathic doctor. There were some other events that kind of led to it as well, but I remember like really struggling to study for my finals, and I knew I wasn't going to do well in the finals. And, you know, I decided to take a look at naturopathic medical schools. You don't have to take an MCAT to get into them. So, like, it's more, they go based off of the whole person rather than just your grades and just your MCAT score. And I started that day, I remember, like, looking into the naturopathic program, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. This is before I was all like into natural medicine and stuff like that. So I was really struggling. Like I had the epiphany. I was like, I knew what my purpose was, and I knew I was going to become a naturopathic doctor
It
at
was
that
more like,
moment.
how do I do it, right? Is that it?
Yeah, but I was like, how? And like, and my whole life I wanted to become an MD doctor. So that change was a really big internal struggle for me at that moment. But you know, I had that kind of epiphany, and once I realized I was going into natural medicine, that's kind of like when my whole life started kind of changing. I also have a lot of, I started having like these kind of supernatural experiences as well.
Hmm.
So I never taken like psychedelic drugs or anything like that,
Hmm.
but I experienced a lot of psychedelic experiences without
That's
anything.
normal. So, for example, and by the way, for the audience, and I don't know if I've had anybody on my channel yet that I've actively spoken about psychedelics with. It can be a bit of a controversial topic at times, but I would like to make it clear, and you've read my book, Sabrina. You saw that there was a piece of artwork in there. I have a good friend who's an artist who did that drawing. He'd never taken a psychedelic drug in his life, and he replicated the whole paragraph of what my story was perfectly. And that's because he was able to have these type of supernatural experiences. So there are some people who have a particular part of their brain open. Some will say it's the third eye, the pineal gland, or just other parts of their brain releasing tryptamine to get these experiences without an external agency. So without LSD, without psilocybin, without dimethyltryptamine, it's very possible to happen. So, I mean, some people probably watch it and go, how can you have supernatural experiences? But no, it's part of the chemicals in your brain that can allow that too. So yeah, how did you, was it a dream or was it more daydreaming? How was it done? Through meditation?
It was a dream, but it started happening when I take naps. I'd take naps and I'd have these really interesting, they were not dreams. They were just very interesting vision. Yes.
I've had them too. Napping during the midday, like early afternoon, late afternoon. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like I was receiving direct paragraphs or like words, phrases, sentences that directly applied to my life. I'd be seeing images that represented things. And so it was very, very interesting. And you're actually able to acquire those states, even if you've never, because I had never had any kind of experience like that my entire life until I really kind of hit that rock bottom.
Were you skeptical? I mean, just out of curiosity, were you skeptical about supernatural stuff before, or did you kind of always think, it was possible? Because, I mean, you do get hardline people who are skeptical about that type of stuff, but then you have people who say, you know what, it could be something that's possible. What was your approach?
I used to be a very skeptical person. So I kind of like, I never meditated originally to have the experience. The experience happened to me, and then it opened up, like it expanded my like perception of reality, and realized that, actually these things can happen, and there's more to the world than what we just perceive with our first five senses. And then I realized that you can use meditation as a tool to activate those states and those levels of consciousness.
Yep.
So afterwards, but originally, no, I was not a spiritual person at all, really. I didn't even really go to church much, nothing. So
now, that's amazing. And I guess the most important thing that really comes out of it is that you become more in tune with yourself. And one thing Carl Jung talks about is synchronicity. So what was happening was, as you being able to enter these altered states of consciousness and have, a wider range of removing that closed mind, opening yourself up to a wider range of what's possible, you begin to synchronize more because you're allowing yourself to synchronize, right?
Absolutely.
And that is something that I guess a lot of people would say, hey, that's something supernatural or whatnot. But it is very much within human consciousness that we do that. And that's how people can reach their peak states. We talk about flow states. You've probably heard of so many different people speaking about flow states. And why are some people so gifted in certain areas from a young age? Because you've got to remember that there are people that are really talented at playing the piano for the first time, never touched a piano, right?
Exactly.
Or, music, writing, all that type of stuff. And that's because they have, within the collective unconscious, they have been given a skill. And once you harbor it and you work towards it, you'll be able to manifest your own project and your own creativity. And that's how you get a lot of these people who are very creative succeeding, because they're synchronizing, allowing themselves to absorb parts of the world of what they need to reach their full self.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people think that coincidences are incidents of synchronicity. Like, to me, I don't even believe in coincidences at all. Like, I believe
I don't anymore.
I used to, but I don't anymore. I just know that it's a synchronistic event. I pay attention to signs a lot more, like just, I don't know, I believe the universe works in energetically. So I do believe, like, there are different signs of synchronicity you can see in numbers. I don't know if you've experienced like repeating numbers.
That's how 333 has happened, because look, and okay, audience out there, just say what you want. I saw 333. I kid you not, because I've been working my job for the last more than 2.5 years now, and I love the job I'm working in. And I've got to admit, for a long period of time, the number 333 was reappearing every time I checked the time at work, every single time. When I come back up from the break, 333. By the end of it, I was just so used to it that I expect it just normal to happen, you know? So I know what you're talking about.
You know what my number is?
1111?
Well, that was probably the first one, but 222.
Really? 222?
Yep.
I know what does it mean in numerology, 222? I can't remember.
222 is very based on like partnerships, networking, like communication, just anything regarding like, it means many different things, but usually like relationships and partnerships, networking.
Means duality as well. Duality.
That was another word I was thinking. Yes. Yeah.
And that's important now, because see I see duality in what you're teaching, because you not only you're focusing on the mind, but you're focusing on the physical body, right? There's a duality, mind and body here. So I can understand why that number actually matches.
There's a reasoning behind it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, look, I got to say, you've probably a lot more we could discuss, and I'm pretty sure a lot more people would love to hear about America and more of, I guess what you're working on. But we've kind of come to the end of the podcast. Like, we want to keep it short and sweet. It's been really good to have you on the show. What last words would you like to give our audience today?
Oh, okay. I guess I would say probably number one thing, shut off the news, go outside, pay attention to your thoughts and start noticing, the state that you're in and trying to keep as high state as possible, and just doing things you love, have a creative outlet, do something you like, just stay as high as possible during these times. That's what's going to help you. And it's what's going to help you stay in the flow state as well.
Absolutely. We need to do more self-care, need to really get out of our bubble and start really looking at broadening our horizon, both in the mind and physically. And yeah, it's been really good having you on the show. If people would like to contact you, because you said you do coaching or any type of, support you can give people, how can they find you, Sabrina?
Yeah, absolutely. They can find me on my Instagram's probably the best place to reach me, at naturopathic sabs.
I'll include it on the video when I put it in. So naturopathic sabs, yeah.
Yes, or they can find me on Facebook. My first and last name, Sabrina Gilliland. So Facebook or Instagram works. And if you message me, I'll message back and ask me any questions. As I go through medical school, I'll be updating my Instagram a lot more and trying to educate more as well. So
it's an amazing thing you're doing, and really great to have you on the show. We'll definitely be seeing you again when I'd like to hear what happens once you do start med school. How
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun.
Not a problem. And well, guys, I hope we have done this on the weekend. I know the time difference is insane. You're 17 hours. You were 17 hours behind, I think.
Yes, behind. So so today for me is August 29th.
And for me, it's 10:55 a.m. on the 30th of August. So
on the
Sunday
30th.
morning.
And it's 5:55 for me. 555. Synchronicity.
Wow, there you go, huh? Well, guys,
there it is.
That was awesome. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.